I have been putting off this deleted scene from the Batman. Technically not a spoiler because it's not in the film. So technically not a spoiler, but it is a character that makes a brief cameo. All right, we're going to watch the Joker clip from the Batman. Let's fucking go.
Present. Almost our anniversary, isn't it?
There's a serial killer. I want your perspective.
First anniversary games, paper. What makes you think I come so cheap?
I thought you'd be curious.
You think I could offer this stuff?
Don't you?
You have pictures.
We'll talk about why it was deleted after this.
It's violence. It's so baroque. Oh, he likes little puzzles, doesn't he? So meticulous. Like he's been planning this his whole life. I know who he is.
Oh. Who is he?
He's a nobody. Wants to be somebody. The mayor, the commissioner. He's got ambition.
You think his motive is political?
Oh, no. This is very, very personal. He feels these people have all wronged him. Probably goes way back. Unhealed wounds, stolen lunch money.
Why is he writing to me?
Maybe he's a fan of yours? Or maybe he's got a grudge against you, too. Maybe you're the main course. Any theories?
Not yet.
Really? You're normally so ahead of the curve. But something is different this time. This is very upsetting to you.
Let's get back to him.
Why? You're so much more fun.
I'm not here to talk about me.
What are you here to talk about?
I want to know how he thinks.
You know exactly how he thinks. Have you read this file? You two have so much in common. Masked Avengers. So he's even more righteous. Oh, are you afraid he makes you look soft?
You're wasting my time.
Okay. I'll tell you what I really think. I think you don't really care about his motives, whether he loves or hates you. I think somewhere deep down, you're just terrified. Because you're not sure he's wrong, huh? You think they deserved it, huh? You think they deserved it.
Damn, bro. One thing that amazed me about the Batman, and I'll get into it with this scene, is I think the Batman really was kind of a cut and paste of other crime movies and other superhero movies, mainly The Dark Knight, that kind of like felt more like a tapestry than a finished project. And this scene, to me, it's great, but it's so obviously Hannibal Lecter. This is Hannibal Lecter, man. This is Hannibal Lecter and Clarice. Like, there's no way that you can look at this scene and see anything other than Hannibal Lecter and Clarice. And to me, it's a really fun reimagining, right? The rest of the movie is Seven, period. The rest of the movie is Seven. It is Seven basically taken and given to a superhero project. Someone asked a good question. Who cares, though? I don't care. But I can see where when you see this film or this scene on the cutting room floor and your project is already, 3 hours long and there's 5 minutes of a conversation that essentially is an homage to Hannibal Lecter, you sometimes you have to kill your babies, and they think, oh, we've already set up Joker. The less we show, the better. The more people will be interested. Sadly, they're wrong. They're completely wrong. What a fucking dumb idea to cut this scene. This is probably the most entertaining scene in the entire movie, if I'm going to be completely honest. What a fucking dumb idea to cut this scene. What the fuck were they thinking? It sets up the ending. It's why Joker knows who the Riddler is at the end. Without this scene, the ending makes no sense. The Riddler gets dropped off in Arkham, and immediately the Joker's like, good work, even though he's been in prison the whole time. No, the ending doesn't make sense without this scene. It's so important. And also, him talking about the anniversary plays right into year one, right? One of the comic books this is based on is year one, man. So he literally sets that up. It's been a year since you busted me. Great. Batman's a year into his career. This is the first major antagonist that he dealt with. And now we know that. It references back to the year timeline. It grounds the project. I fucking adore this scene. I think, so it's really interesting. I talk about Killing of a Sacred Deer a lot because I fucking hate the movie. And a big part of why I hate the movie is it makes me feel so uncomfortable. And Barry Kerrigan is a big part of what makes me feel deeply uncomfortable about that project. So Barry Kerrigan as a Joker, I love. He's a terrific actor. He is like a thespian. He's a real fucking actor. And he makes me uncomfortable in every role he's in anyway. So as the Joker, I'm like, yeah, I'm right on board. Love the casting. I think he can do a great job. Guys, this scene plays into even more what I was talking about, that I have way more hope for the second The Batman project than I do the first. Because let's be honest, Edward Nygma, as we know him, and I'm going to keep it a buck, Edward Nygma, as we know him, would not exist if Jim Carrey didn't dig his character out of the fucking trash. Okay? Period. The reason we know who Edward Nygma is because in Batman Forever, Jim Carrey fucking carried the movie. All right? I don't know if you love Batman Forever or hate Batman Forever, but Jim Carrey, at the height of his career, put a fucking beating on Edward Nygma, right? And if you look at the history of this character, this is going to get really deep, but the Riddler had fallen out of favor. The Riddler at that time was not an A-tier supervillain anymore. He wasn't. In fact, in the comics, there's a famous moment where the commissioner sits him down and is like, "You fell off. You're not, and you're no one. You're a nobody." It's a famous panel in the comic books where literally Gordon is like, "Who are you?" Right? And the reason that Nigma was big before that was because he was one of the villains selected for the original Batman show. This is deep Batman lore. This is deep Batman lore shit now. The Batman series, one of the main antagonists was the Riddler. And I'm going to tell you this, the reason that the Riddler was chosen as one of the villains was because the director, I can't remember his name, or the creator, he only read like 12 Batman comics. And issue 12 was the Riddler. One of his like 3 appearances in 20 years of the comic was one of the comics that the creator read. He was a sparsely used villain before the Batman series. And the actor who played the Riddler put a beating on the role back then.
Hold it, Riddler.
In fact, I'm pretty sure he won an Emmy for his performance as the Riddler.
Yes,
This is the Riddler we know. Now, some people were going, Jim Carrey in the green suit, too much, too campy. Well, that's what they wanted Schumacher to do. Okay? Now, I don't know if you guys remember this, but the original Batmans, particularly the second Batman, were met with a lot of fucking pushback because they said that Tim Burton had made a Batman that was way too dark. And the reason it was considered way too dark is because they had invested so much in McDonald's toys that children went to go watch the second Batman and they saw the fucking green bile leaking out of Danny DeVito's mouth as he's gunned down in a sewer, and they were traumatized because 90s kids, they weren't ready for that. And Burton, not many people talk about this, Burton was ready to do a third Batman movie. He was ready to finish his trilogy. In fact, he went into a pitch meeting to pitch for the third Batman, and halfway through the pitch, he said out loud, "You don't want me to make this movie, do you?" And they said, "No." And that is why
Thank you for everything you do.
we
I am
got
so thankful
Batman
for you.
Forever,
Neff.
which the producers told the director, "We want to go back to campy Batman. We want campy Batman." So anyone who's complaining about Carrey's performance, blah, 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 it was the best that you were going to get out of that. Because the intention was to go back to campy Batman. Why? So that kids could watch it and they could sell more toys. Period. Full stop. That is what happened with that film. Regardless of what you think of Batman Forever, I enjoy it. I don't think it's the best movie. Carrey does an amazing job. He brings depth to a character that should have no depth. He basically gave us the modern version of the Riddler. It's over the top, but he breathed life into that character, and Tommy Lee Jones phoned it in. Tommy Lee Jones did a terrible performance, right? I do not like Two-Face in that movie. Compared to Jim Carrey, it doesn't hold a candle, right? And Tommy Lee Jones is a good actor, but it's just not on par. So that is the reason we know the Riddler, right? And then recently, last 20 years, 10 years, they darked up the Riddler. They grittied him up. You know what I mean? They made him gritty.
The Riddler when
Oh,
he's
the
so
gritty
more
Riddler.
like Hush.
The Griddler. They made him the Griddler. But anyway, they made him dark, and that's where you get like Hush and stuff from the Griddler, where he's like this darker version of the character. And that's what we got in the Batman. And, you know, I thought he was an okay villain. I thought he was a good villain. But I'm way more excited to see the Joker again. I'm going to be honest. He's the best. It's hard to compete with him, right? He's like the Charles Manson of supervillains. He's just great. He's just electric. You're just always waiting. And I'm going to be honest. I think part of the reason Edward Cullen, what the fuck ever his name is, Robert Pattinson, I think part of the reason that Pattinson got such a pass for this film was because Batfleck sucked. But by the same token, I think that the new Joker is going to get a pass in a big way too, because Leto Joker sucked. Both those incarnations of the characters were dog water. So I want to see the Joker again, right? It's been like a decade plus since the Joker like was something new and exciting again. I'm ready. Joaquin, listen, I'm going to keep it a buck. There's a reason I didn't mention the Joaquin Joker, and it's because I don't remember it. And the reason I don't remember it is because the Joker is not a superhero film. The Joker, Joaquin Phoenix's Joker, is amazing. It's incredible. It's really good, but it will not connect to anything. And in my opinion, it's a sequel to The King of Comedy. If you've ever seen The King of Comedy, I think that The Joker is more of a Scorsese film than it is a superhero film. I think you could make that movie without Joaquin Phoenix's character being the Joker, and it still works 100%. If you took out the fact that Joaquin Phoenix was the Joker in that movie, it would still be a tremendous film. I think the fact that he was the Joker is kind of added on to the film, in my opinion. That's the way it feels. And part of that I have to mention is it won't agree. It won't tie into anything. That is going to be its own project forever. But think of that more as a one shot. Think of that more as a what if than like canon superhero shit, right? In my opinion, I don't think it's canon superhero shit. Sequel is confirmed. Let me check that overconfident chatter. While the sequel has been rumored to be in development, Warner Brothers has yet to confirm the project. Okay, that took me 2 seconds. Chatter, Google it first, bro. It took me 3 seconds, man. It took me 3 seconds. I fucking love that. It's confirmed. What? It's not confirmed. If they make that movie, I would be really surprised, because it's going to be hard to get Joaquin Phoenix. In my opinion, it's just going to be hard to get Joaquin Phoenix to reprise that. Also, where do you go with that story? Do you tie that performance actually into a Batman movie? Do you have Batman show up in a Joaquin Phoenix Joker? I just don't know what that movie looks like. Bane was in that movie. Do you think we've seen Bane on camera? I'm gonna ask you a legitimate question. Do you think we actually saw Bane on camera? Do you think the villain that we saw in that Batman was Bane? Because this person does not look like Bane to me. This is Bane. I think they took some fucking liberties with this character. This incarnation of Bane does not look like Bane to me. He does not behave like Bane to me. He does not sound like Bane to me. He's not the same nationality as Bane. He doesn't have the same motivations as Bane. I'm gonna keep it real. I don't know if you guys noticed this. I think the Batman is setting up for a real Bane. And I'm gonna keep it a buck. I don't even know if you noticed it, how they set up for Bane. I don't even know if you noticed it. When Batman got his dick smashed up on those rafters, he pulls out a green vial and hit himself. He hit himself with the venom, which means that there's a doctor somewhere in Gotham making green steroids. So Venom exists in that universe. And if Venom exists in that universe, then ipso facto, that means that Bane exists in that universe. And we might see a Bane using Venom. Which is the real Bane. Not some guy who climbed out of a hole. But I'm excited for that. Listen, this is just, I'm one guy. You know, these are my opinions. You can fucking tell me to go fuck myself, but these are my opinions. I'm one guy, but I also happen to be one guy who is an enormous Batman fan.